Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a drama and horror film called You Won't Be Alone. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. In a small village in 19th century Macedonia, a group of kids is playing hide and seek. A mother, Ioana, who's busy cooking and tending to her baby, Nevena, becomes furious at the kids who start hiding in her house and playing around. Ioana sets Nevena down before chasing the children away, telling them to bother someone else and hopes that the Wolf-Eateress would get them. Going back to her home, Ioana hears Nevena crying non-stop but focuses on her cooking. Upon hearing a voice behind her, Ioana turns and immediately kneels when she sees a woman with burnt skin sitting beside Nevena. Ioana begs her not to take Nevena, but the woman Ioana recognizes as old maid Maria says she doesn't want a child, just a little bit of the newborn's blood. To prevent Nevena from getting killed, Ioana bargains with Maria, telling her that she can have Nevena as a daughter instead. Maria says she doesn't want to waste her only witching spit on Nevena. Thus, Ioana says she'll give up Nevena once she's seen her grow up, promising to let Maria have her once she's 16. With that, Ioana slashes her arm to seal the deal. However, Maria wants to mark Nevena too, so she pushes her finger inside the baby's mouth and rips her vocal cords. After lamenting for her hurt daughter, Ioana hides her in a cave, praying for Nevena's protection and saying that Maria can't step foot inside the sacred place. Outside, Ioana cries out in the village, saying the Wolf-Eateress snatched her child. After years go by, Nevena grows up ignorant about the world, spending most of her days alone in the cave and eating old bread. When she hears voices outside, Nevena smacks two rocks together, making clicking sounds to make a noise of her own. However, no one notices her. When Ioana comes by to take care of her, Nevena notes that Ioana told her that the devil scratched Nevena's voice, thus why it was gone. But Nevena thinks she didn't lose it. Instead, she thinks that her voice ran away after the devil scared it. When Nevena tries going outside, Ioana immediately pushes her back, shouting that people will rip Nevena apart if she goes outside. Though treating her roughly to keep her safe, Ioana comforts Nevena afterward. Seasons pass with Nevena living the same days repeatedly, hoping for just blackness. Soon, she notices an eagle fly into the cave, so she tries to touch it, but it flies away, much to her dismay. During Ioana's visit, she notices the eagle return, so she throws rocks at it to chase it away. When the eagle flies away to a cave's hidden corner, Ioana follows it, still trying to fight against it. After hearing Ioana scream, Nevena sees her walk back with disheveled hair, urging Nevena to follow her outside. Noticing that her mother is acting differently, Nevena is hesitant to follow, so Ioana pushes her out. Seeing the world for the first time, Nevena becomes overwhelmed by all the new sights. She follows Ioana into a shed and goes to pet a sheep, which is the first one she's seen. Meanwhile, Ioana feasts upon a donkey before returning to Nevena. She slashes her on the chest before spitting her blood on the wound. Outside, Ioana takes a lit branch and holds fire over Nevena's wound, healing it instantly. Suddenly, Nevena notices dark nails growing on her fingers. While walking away, Ioana starts removing innards from an orifice in her chest. When she removes her cloak and turns around, she reveals her true form as Maria. With no other choice, Nevena just follows her. While together, Maria watches as Nevena becomes accustomed to the world. When Maria tries to touch her, Nevena flinches away, so Maria pushes her. One day, Maria feasts on rabbit's blood and forces Nevena to do the same. Nevena spits it out at first, so Maria pushes her head down on the carcass. Nevena realizes that all that's left is her, the witch, and her witch mother, Maria. She misses her actual mother, Ioana, and wishes for her back, but she doesn't want to go back to the caves. One day, a shepherd takes note of Nevena and approaches her slowly. When he caresses her lips, Maria appears from behind, taunting the shepherd. When the man tries to attack Maria, she immediately kills him. Afterward, Maria slaps Nevena, reprimanding her for knowing nothing and not fighting against the man. The more Maria becomes rough with Nevena, the more she wishes Ioana to return. When Nevena tries to care for a rabbit, Maria snatches it and kills it in front of her, saying they need blood and strength, not playthings. Then, she says that Nevena is a waste of her only witching spit. As Nevena tries to hunt for fish, she successfully catches one but lets it go. Seeing this, Maria scolds her again, reminding her they need blood, not playthings. Frustrated, Nevena throws a rock at Maria, so she retaliates by trying to drown Nevena. Furious, Maria reminds her that she isn't Nevena's mother, and thus she leaves her alone to fend for herself. As she goes after Maria, Nevena sees her putting a dog's innards into the orifice on her chest. This allows Maria to shift into the dog. She looks at Nevena one last time before leaving. Left wandering around the forest, Nevena comes across a small village and sees Basilka giving birth before being instructed to work in the cornfield right after. The next day, as Nevena is wandering into the village, a little girl finds her. Curiously, Nevena tries to touch her, but upon seeing her blackened nails, the child runs away, screaming. Afraid, Nevena hides away but hears the newborn's cry, so she goes to the baby. When Basilka arrives, she pushes Nevena away from her baby, but Nevena accidentally kills her. Confused, Nevena removes her clothes and opens an orifice in her chest before pushing Basilka's innards into it, struggling as she does so. Nevena morphs into Basilka while the actual woman's body disappears. Now, in Basilka's body, Nevena plays around the barn while ignoring the baby's cries and not bothering to cover herself. When Basilka's mother-in-law notices her, she covers Nevena with a blanket, asking what's gotten into her. Basilka's husband also wonders what happened, so a neighbor says it's a woman's madness. Angry, Basilka's husband slaps her, but her mother-in-law pulls her away, telling her son not to hurt Basilka. While bathing her, Basilka's mother-in-law says she understands their domestic problems, but acting unseemly isn't the way to fight back. Meanwhile, Maria watches her from a distance. Under the care of Basilka's mother-in-law, Nevena learns how to sweep, do the laundry, and cook, mirroring the actions that the older woman does, even slowly learning how to express emotions. However, her husband continues to mistreat her. When Nevena notices another woman being harmed by her husband, she approaches the crying woman. She mirrors her crying before laughing and showing her bruises, expressing her own husband's troubles through gestures. That night, Nevena and the mother-in-law feed their husbands first before they're allowed to eat. She notes that in the presence of men, they only exist to serve, but when they're amongst women, they can interact. Nevena does so as she watches her fellow women interact with each other before mirroring their expressions, even practicing how to laugh properly. Soon, Nevena learns how to tend to the baby by herself, but Maria confronts her, calling Nevena a twit for choosing another prison as her life. She tells Nevena that people will tear her to shreds once they discover who she is before walking away in frustration. One night, Basilka's husband starts mating with her. Unfamiliar with the action, Nevena ends up killing him before running away and removing Basilka's innards from her to turn back to her old form. When Basilka's mother-in-law notices the next day, she cries out. Seeing a dog, Nevena takes its form to wander around before following a group of men to the lake to understand them. She watches them playing in the water before touching themselves at the same time. Nevena turns back to her old form and bathes herself in the river before walking around naked. She soon makes noise to call after a man, Boris, that she comes across. When Boris follows her, she inspects his body intimately, which Boris takes as advancement, so he tries to sleep with her. However, Nevena doesn't like it, so she kills him. Taking Boris's body, Nevena goes back to town naked. The townsfolk don't notice anything weird about Boris at first, as Nevena simply goes along when she's called. Soon, she learns how to thresh and plow the fields, living life carelessly as a man. When the townsfolk notice Boris inspecting a doll, the women walk around him in circles to exorcise him while the men talk about how Boris fornicated with the Wolf-Eateress and had his wits taken. Afterward, the women are worried that the Wolf-Eateress would come back for Boris because he's handsome. Still, Nevena continues to live life in a carefree manner in Boris's body, knowing that though her skin may be buried, she can never be unless Maria does so. While working in the fields, Maria approaches Nevena once more amidst the smoke, but she dismisses her. However, Maria taunts Nevena, saying she isn't fooling anyone by taking people's skin and blending in. On the way back, Nevena notices a kid scolded by his family for not being able to chop logs properly. He's told not to go back inside the house until he chops more, so Nevena helps him out. The next day, a young woman calls upon Boris to follow her. In the privacy of a barn, she undresses and sits Boris down before riding him. Not knowing what to do, Nevena just lets it happen, feeling it out. Days continue to pass by, with Nevena living a comfortable life as Boris. However, one day, a group of children scream and point toward a girl, Belia, who fell off a cliff. When Nevena sees her, she cries. Knowing that the child is about to die, she takes the child's form. When the townsfolk arrive, the bodies are gone. Soon, Nevena is discovered by Belia's family, who are worried sick about her. With Belia's form, Nevena experiences growing up with a proper childhood. Nevena enjoys life as a child, as she's being taken care of and loved while learning various things and playing around. One night, before the children are about to sleep together, they ask their grandmother to tell the story of Old Maid Maria. Many centuries ago, when the Turk was at his cruelest, he emptied an entire village of their boys, so Old Maid Maria no longer had a bachelor left for her. Thus, Maria's life continued to stay the same, ending up having to take care of her father while tending to the chores by herself. One day, she happened upon an old lady feasting upon the flesh of an animal, who walked away when she noticed Maria. Realizing it was the Wolf-Eateress, Maria ran after her and asked her for a husband, but she was ignored. Still, she continued to beg for a husband and a child, so the Wolf-Eateress slashed her on the chest before spitting her blood onto it and walking away. After that, Maria's life continued all the same. One day, a man dropped by, requesting Maria's assistance for his son, so Maria happily came with him. When she arrived, the son's mother had already called them betrothed, telling Maria to go to their son who was dying. However, they tie her up and force Maria to mate with their son, not wanting to let him die without spreading his seed because he wouldn't be considered a man. They told her to close her eyes and it'll be done soon, saying no woman would refuse a child. The next day, the son was buried while Maria was forced to bear the burden of the cruel experience. When she got sick, Maria killed the cow and drank its blood, but the townsfolk found out about it and burned her at the stake. However, Maria didn't die and became who she is today after the fire awakened the witch's mark. The years go by as Nevena continues to live as Belia, where she grows up close with a boy, Jovan, who is often bullied for being a pansy. However, Nevena often has her eyes on him, continuing to help him out when he's in a pinch. One day, Nevena subtly passes yarn to help him and soon finds that Jovan gave it back. One day, Maria visits Nevena again, saying she'll be found out and that Jovan will be the one to throw her in the fire. Soon, Jovan asks for her hand in marriage, so they dress her up as they celebrate the union. They perform wedding traditions but mess it up together, though they just smile at their screw-ups. The town spends a happy day together while Maria simply watches from a distance. Before their first night together, the grown-ups teach her how to be the perfect wife, a willful servant for the man's pleasure. They tell her not to feel ashamed, yet remind her to be conservative. When the townsmen arrive to bring Jovan to her, she undresses immediately and lays Jovan down, confidently taking the reins. Ever since, Nevena has been fond of Jovan, watching him from a distance and thirsting for his being, not just wanting to be him, but to be with him. They spend their married days happily, often kissing and laughing. However, after making love one day, Jovan notices her sharp, dark nails and discovers her true identity. Still, Jovan accepts her as who she is and is even happy when she becomes pregnant. One day, they notice that Jovan hasn't returned as usual, so Nevena looks for him. Outside, she notices a boar's tusk stained with blood, so she follows the animal, only to see Jovan's body in a pool of his own blood. Nevena cries in devastation. During the burial, Nevena continues to cry for her husband. Afterward, some of the townsfolk blame Nevena for bringing misfortune upon Jovan and suspects that she'll bring it to the entire town, so they must cleanse her. However, the townswomen tell her not to worry since they'll all be cleansed together because the Wolf-Eateress is someone who rages with envy. Soon, the women participate in the cleansing, including Nevena. One day, Nevena gives birth to a daughter, so she immediately stands up to close the windows and doors. She becomes worried about Maria harming her daughter, so she restlessly protects her. However, the women around her remind Nevena that they won't let her daughter be endangered, so she should rest. When Nevena falls asleep, she sees Maria in her dream. She wakes up in a panic, but her baby is safe and sound. One morning, after getting back home after collecting firewood, Nevena sees her midwife killed and Maria standing over her baby. Maria mocks her about what's so good about the baby. Immediately, Maria slashes the baby's neck with her nails, so Nevena rushes to take an axe, killing a goat and consume its blood. She then brands her baby with her witching spit and uses a lit twig to awaken the powers, thus saving her life. Meanwhile, Maria simply watches with tearful eyes, asking how it was so easy for Nevena to do that. In response, Nevena stabs Maria with her nails and removes her innards repeatedly until the old woman is dead. Though stained with blood, Nevena holds her beautiful daughter, remembering all the lives she's lived using different people's skins. Despite the life of grief and pain, she remains hopeful for her and her daughter's future.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.